Hey everyone, welcome back to Daily Doc Talk with Dr. Drew Timmermans. This is episode 2. It's the end of the week, and so I wanted to kind of share just my week with you, some fun things that happened, a little personal life. Also, want to talk to you about an interesting case that I had in the clinic this week with a patient that I've been working with for a while. My goal is to hopefully help connect with you to either help you through a certain condition or anything you're going through in life, or a loved one, a family member, or something like that. And so want to start off with a little funny story. This is actually take 2 of this video because I just learned that my phone cannot record videos longer than 10 minutes, or there's just a setting that I have not figured out on this phone. And so I was going to just film a part 2 to it. However, I just decided to re-go from the beginning because I wanted to try and keep these videos as raw as possible. So this is take 2. So this week has been a fun week because of me starting this new project with more YouTube videos, trying to get my message out a bit more, and also branching out into doing some interviews and podcasting, which will be coming soon. I just spent some money getting some of the audio equipment, some stuff that is really not in my realm. And so it's been fun, learning, what I need, what I don't need in terms of actual equipment, but also, connecting with people to help with setting up that equipment or setting up the software and things like that. I also purchased the Adobe Creative Suite, and so I've been dabbling and learning a bit more Photoshop and Lightroom, and also some Premiere to help kind of give a little sizzle to what's going on here. And I kind of wanted to get my feet wet with that first before I started outsourcing, just so that I was grounded in the roots of what was going on, and I wasn't just oblivious to all that. So. And no, I will not take requests for anyone to Photoshop anything because my skills are not that good. So, moving on to our clinical case, I've been working with a gentleman for probably the last 3 months now. He's in his middle 40s, and his biggest symptoms that he's been dealing with is chronic fatigue on a daily basis, and that for him usually manifests as like muscular weakness, almost like kind of the weakness you get at the end of the workout. But kind of consistent all day long. And then also a little bit of brain fog, but then some lower extremity swelling, some edema, as well as kind of poor circulation in the lower extremities. Now, this is an interesting case because this gentleman has done a lot of research on his own. He has a at-home hyperbaric oxygen chamber. He has an at-home infrared sauna. He has some different grounding pads and things like that. And so on the device side, he has researched a lot. He's been doing a lot. And then on the supplement side, when he first came to me, he was actually doing pretty good with, some of the supplements that he was taking for mitochondrial efficiency, overall hormone health, kind of the big things that you typically would think of when you have someone with fatigue and some muscular weakness. But as we started talking, it became clear that he, and this is something I've talked about before on Instagram and social media and whatnot, is there comes a point where you can't just keep adding and hopefully get a different effect or a better effect than what you were before. And this is a great example of it because I quickly found out that he was probably only sleeping about 4 hours a night. And it's not because he had insomnia or not because, he had to get up to work 2 jobs and support his family or anything like that. He was getting up around 3:30, 4 in the morning just so he could get his workout in. Then he could go do yoga. Then he gets ready for work, goes to work. And then, in the evening, he's also trying to set up his own business outside of work so that he can one day leave work. And so, he's usually up until 11:30, 12 at night. So he's really only getting 4 hours of sleep, and he is waking up bag tired, but still kind of grinding and trying to push through all this. And there comes a point where your body can't handle that, and you need to take a step back and start removing some of the things so that your body can just breathe and recover from everything that's going on. And so, this was initially a hard paradigm shift for him to understand because, the notion is just that, well, you're just not taking the right supplement or you're not using the right device or things like that. And for him, that just wasn't the case. And so initially he was working out about 4 or 5 days a week with weights. And then on top of that, he was doing yoga probably about 3 or 4 days after the weight session, and then was doing yoga on his 2 off days. And so he was exercising 7 days a week. And so one of the first things we did was we started pulling back on those exercises because that's why he was getting up so early in the morning. And so, over time, over the past few months, he's been getting better at that. He's now probably sleeping about 6 hours. He's doing 1 to 2 weight workouts a week and more body weight as opposed to, an external load. And he's been seeing improvement with that. And, while that is kind of the root cause of, a lot of his issues is that rest aspect of it. The other thing that we did was we looked at, we ran some basic labs. We looked at lipid panel. We did some hormones, the sex hormones, testosterone, progesterone, as well as a thyroid panel. And his hormones across the board were pretty low, which, can cause a lot of the symptoms that he's having. And so we talked about, what we could do in that situation. He had tried some natural supplements and stuff like that, which work in some people when you have mild deficiencies in some of the hormones. However, when you start getting into some of the more severe deficiencies, it may not just pack the punch you need. And so one of the things we talked about was doing some bioidentical hormone replacement. And so for those of you who don't know, there's 2 types of hormone replacement. There's the old school traditional hormone replacement. You can think of something like oral contraceptives or birth control pills. Those are going to be synthetic versions of the hormones, whether that's progesterone, estrogen, or we can talk about the thyroid hormones as well. And those bind very strongly, even more strongly than your own body's hormones to those receptors, which is one of the reasons why those hormones aren't always well tolerated. And we get side effects and things like that. On the other hand, bioidentical hormone therapy is, and it's in the name, it's bioidentical, meaning the chemical structure is identical to what's produced in your body. So if you looked at progesterone in your body and the bioidentical progesterone, they would look exactly the same. And so because of that, we get less side effects in the body, especially when we're keeping blood values within a normal, healthy range. And so for him, one of the first places we started, and this was just based on, our conversation, our decisions, was to start with some thyroid replacement. Just low dose, intermittent, just to kind of try to help get a little bit more free circulating thyroid throughout his body, so that way he had the gumption to recover and to kind of work on the other things that he needed to work on. And after about 6 weeks, he started to notice some really significant improvements in a lot of his symptoms. The main ones were the heaviness that he had in his legs, along with the muscular fatigue and just his fatigue in general. And so the point of all this that I'm trying to make is that there's a time and a place for interventions like bioidentical hormone replacement. It doesn't need to be the first place you go, but it's always good to keep that on the table when you're considering different options, and trying to find out, what's the root cause of this, how can we address that, but also how can I feel good in the interim so that way I can make the changes that I want to make. And so hopefully I have imparted some wisdom and knowledge on you guys here today. I just want to say thank you again for listening, and I will see you guys next time.